Hello, everyone, and welcome to another of South Asian Artists in Conversation with South Asian Artists. Today, we have the lovely Anjali Mya Chadha, and we're going to be talking a little bit about Anjali's work as a dramaturg and also about the South Asian community in the arts and the unity of the South Asians in the arts. So, welcome, Anjali. Thank you so much for taking up your time.
Thank you for having me.
No worries. How are you doing today?
I'm fine. What can I say? So if this keeps dropping, it's like I haven't had my lockdown haircut yet. So I've managed to dye it, but I haven't managed to cut it. But
Yeah.
other than that, I'm what I've been doing for a year, just sat at home. That's all we've been doing.
Just waiting until June when
We can go out and no, the thing is, it's like I know we're allowed out and people are going a bit ballistic, but we still don't know what's happening. I still have a mother that I have to be very careful about, even though she's been vaccinated. So, every day is still the same at the moment.
Yeah, and not everyone's ready to go out yet. Not everyone wants to.
No,
I feel
not
like
everyone is.
everyone's
And that's the thing we've got to say to people, it's okay. It's okay not to be ready to come back out. And it's okay if you're struggling, and it's okay if you're not feeling it. It's okay. And I think that message needs to go out a bit more, that it's okay.
Yeah, because I think people can see, oh my God, everyone's out, I want to go out. But you've got to remember, we've been like this for a year. Like everyone needs to kind of adjust in their own way. If for people who don't know who you are, if you could just tell everyone a little bit about yourself, who you are. And I like to ask everyone this, what inspired you to get into the industry and where did it all start for you?
Okay, well, I'm Anjali, and for most of my career, I have been an actor and a writer. And but recently, in the last few years, I have been more veering towards development and dramaturgy work and running my own writing groups, which has been absolutely lovely. I started out as an actor, and I saw your interview with Raj Gutberg, and we all come from the same generation of when we all started off at the same time. And he summed it up, I think, perfectly, which is, for me, I always wanted to be an actor. There was never a time I didn't. I'd watch TV, and especially at a time when there were lots of good children's TV. So there was things like Press Gang and Children's Ward and Grange Hill and then Biker Grove. And I'd just be itching to want to be one of the characters and be on there, to a point where I actually did write to ITV because I wanted to be in Children's Ward. And I even wrote my own storyline and sent it off to them. Yeah, never heard. Don't even know if it got to them. It was just kind of ITV.
What was the storyline about? Do you remember?
I can't even remember, but it was basically just being ill, and I think it was something like tonsillitis or something. And so I wanted to do that, and then when it came to kind of going on to think about what I wanted to do post school, post further education, yes, I wanted to be an actor, but like Raj said, you look at TV and you're like, but what would I do? There are no jobs for someone like me. I'd never seen someone like me on stage, or very rarely. I'd never seen someone like me on TV. And if they were, the representation was so stereotypical, full of microaggressions, rude, racist. As South Asian girls, we were always suppressed, being forced into arranged marriages, running away from honor killings. And this was the kind of storyline in continuous drama for a very, very long time. So you sit there and you think, there's nothing to entice me, no, like mazza, mazza means kind of enjoyment. There was nothing pulling me towards it, but I knew I wanted to be involved in the arts. And I grew up in Newham, and I started going to a drama group at the Tom Allen Centre, no longer exists. And that kind of gave me an insight into, actually, there is something here. There is an opportunity to create your own work. And also, I was part of the youth theatre group at Stratford East. And as a school, we used to go to school trips to go and watch theatre there. So slowly you think, yes, there isn't a place for me, but I know that there could be an opening. So I went off to study, to do a degree in drama. And I really did think I would possibly go on and do teaching, because again, being an actor and a writer, you just didn't see it around, or you didn't think those options were for you. And then I went and in the middle of my degree, the Theatre Royal did a piece of work called Do You Eat With Your Fingers, which was an onstage, almost like a sketch show. And it blew my mind because for the first time I saw myself on stage. And I remember seeing Nina Wadia and Shobna Galati and I can't remember the whole cast. Paul Sharma was and you kind of, Nitin Ganatra. Yeah, they're all coming back.
All kind of the sort of names that we
know
those
now.
are names I watched growing
Come
up.
on, yeah, I'm remembering all the names. And you're like, and it was like, it was like, pardon? I'd never seen us represented like that. There were no negative stereotypes. In fact, it was sending all the stereotypes up. And I remember one of the first sketches was Paul Sharma coming onto stage, and he was auditioning for what was it? Jesus Christ Superstar, the musical. And he comes on and he says, "Oh, I've come here to interview for Jesus. I've come here to audition for Jesus Christ Superstar." And the casting director, because it was a solo piece, it was one way, says, "Who are you here for?" And he's like, "Jesus Christ." And it was like born in the Middle East, and they're like blonde hair, blue eyes. It was just so magnificently done. And when you're like, "Oh my God, that's so good."
Yeah.
And I think that changed things, and it's like, I'm going to be an actor. Suddenly doors opened, and then there was all the comedy that like Sanjeev and Nina were doing over at the Watermans, over at Tom Allen Centre, and suddenly this whole industry opened up for many of us just by a few organisations opening their doors for South Asians to walk in and be creative and create their own plays, their own shows. And it kind of went from there. And then in terms of the wider industry, work was still really sparse.
Yeah.
And I've seen over so many of my colleagues who were brilliant actors, brilliant writers in the making, and they've just kind of left the industry and gone. And that's such a shame that over the years we've lost many people. And so it got to a stage where there was not many options left. The auditions weren't coming in. That's because there weren't many parts. There was still that huge belief that there's still not that many good South Asian actors out there. Where do you find them? Where are they? Even though we were all with agents. So, they'd kind of go to the same faces again and again, who were great actors. This is not against them, but they were going to them with the belief that they weren't going to find anything better or anything different. So I thought, right, I can't do this forever. So do I go and convert my degree into a PGCE and carry on being a teacher? Or do I have a go at writing something myself? And at that point, I was working with Matt and David on Little Britain. And but again, it was little jobs here and there. I appreciate the job. It was a really brilliant job, but it wasn't going to keep me forever. And it was just the thought that I've had this lovely time with them, and I go back to being unemployed again. I go back to being invisible again. I go back to being, I go back to kind of hustling again. And I remember them saying when we were all having lunch that this was their kind of last rodeo. If this didn't work for them, that was it. They were giving up. And at the time, you sit there and you go, I don't know what to do. There's not that many South Asian parts out there. You're never considered for anything that isn't negative because of your brown colour. You're not just seen as a Londoner and a human being. And you're kind
it's
of
like based around your race, like the role.
Your race, and that is negative as well. There's lots of great things about being South Asian. And at the time, Ruth Jones was writing, or she'd just embarked on doing Gavin and Stacey. So what they were saying was, you've got to do your own stuff. You can't sit there and wait. Even for us, it doesn't work. You've got to go and do your own work. So I went off and I wrote my own one-woman show called The Dateless Wonder. And I was pretty proud of it. And I was looking at it going, this is something I want to come and watch. This is, I wrote the show for what would I want to go and watch at the theatre? What do I want to go and see? So I wrote it, and there's a much longer story to that. But serendipity, I never know what that word is. It landed on the desk of Salima Khanum at the Watermans because they were one of the first people I kind of approached.
Yeah.
Actually, they weren't the first, but I sent it everywhere. But I did send it to Salima, and but they were a receiving house. They're not a producing house. Um, so I sent it to producing houses first, and then sent it to Salima, and she read it and just went, "Oh my God, this is funny. How can I support this?" And it's like, well, we can't produce. We don't produce in house. However, I can help you produce it yourself. If you want to apply for funding, we can then I can definitely schedule it in. And it just kind of went from there. And there've been a lot of lows and a lot of struggling in my career, as has happened to many other artists, South Asian or not, but there's been
Mm.
some great highs. And then that's how and then that kind of led to me doing other work, acting, in between hustling, doing lots of role play. And then I ended up doing lots of work for Jatinder at Tara, and that's how my relationship there began into being an associate artist, being a dramaturg, being a developer, and yeah, that's it.
Fantastic. Well, you sound like you've done kind of so many different elements of the industry, and not
When you
just the
talk about
acting
it,
one.
it sounds like a lot, but when you look at it on career, I still look at it
Mm.
and go, I still feel like a newcomer. I feel as if there should have been more opportunities out
No,
there.
for sure.
There should have been more stuff. If you look at what I've done and my foundations, and not just me, I'm looking at a lot of my colleagues who I absolute rate on a scale of 1 to 10. And to me, in terms of their talent, their tenacity, their ambition, their skill base, they're at a 10. And it's just not happening. So it
Mm.
seems like a lot, but it doesn't feel like a lot when we know that we have a lot more in there and a lot more to give.
It's like lost potential. Like we've got
Yeah,
so much
I've seen a lot of
potential.
lost potential in my time. I've seen us lose so many people, and I've seen, yeah, and it's such a shame. And I think at some point that needs to be looked into. How did that happen to a
Yeah.
whole generation, to a lot of Black artists, actors, writers, directors, South Asian, East Asian, MENA, everyone. For my generation, I've seen so many people just come and go, and it's a shame because they had so much to contribute.
And it's so sad they probably left the industry thinking that that was it for them. There wasn't
That
going
was
to
it
be
for them.
any
That was,
more.
I left for a couple of years as well. I had a sabbatical for my mental health because it just wasn't happening. It's like, how many doors can I knock on? This isn't happening. So I went off for a couple of years and did something else for a while. And it was the best thing I did for me, just in terms of not being bitter, not being hurt, but your heart kind of drags you back.
Yeah, it's bound
Yeah.
to happen because you just think
Mm.
that there's nothing more. You've
There's
got to
nothing
take that
out there.
break and.
Yeah.
Mm. And you mentioned the dateless wonder. What
Mm.
was? I know you said it was kind of what you wanted to see on
Mm.
stage, but were there any other particular types of inspiration, say from your own experiences, or
Oh, it
just
was
that
my
you
own
see?
experience. It was
Mm.
so the Dateless Wonder is a story about Jojo, who goes to her first English Christian wedding,
Mm.
and it was very much based on my story. So I grew up in a Punjabi household, archetypal Hindu Punjabi household, and so when you're young, the only weddings you go to are family weddings. The only weddings you go to are the ones that you're invited to as a family. Because as an 8-year-old, you're not going to like go to your own wedding.
Yeah.
You're not going to like go be invited by yourself and just go somewhere.
No.
So yeah, so I'd only ever really mainly been to kind of Punjabi weddings, whether they're Hindu, whether they're Sikh, but I'd never really been to any other kind of event. And then when my first friend from university got married, which she got married quite soon after we all graduated, I'd never been to an English Christian church wedding before. I'd seen them on TV, but I'd never actually been to one.
Mm.
And because when you're South Asian and you say that, suddenly loads of layers of narratives are put on, which is, were you suppressed? Were you allowed friends? It's like, no, why would I have gone to an English Christian wedding when I was a child, unless my family were invited to one? But yet, if
Yeah.
you're a white person and you go, I've never been to a Jamaican wedding, or I've never been to a Baptist wedding, or I've never been to a nikah, or I've never been to a Hindu ceremony, everyone's gone, well, yeah, of course, why would you until you're invited to one? And so I went to this wedding and I was expecting a very kind of British, fatey type of Four Weddings and a Funeral, all very Richard Curtis films. It was
What you see on
bonkers.
TV,
It was
kind of.
about bonkers. It was about as bonkers as a Punjabi wedding. And I just thought, I have to write about this. I have to write about the juxtaposition of, so the whole thing is Jojo goes to her wedding, and so she's a bit of a fish out of water, so, and she's just copying everyone standing up in the church, sitting down, everyone singing hymns, and you're like,
Trying to get the gist of it.
pretending, and you don't know because I've never sung hymns before.
Mm.
Then kind of going, okay, well, now we're going to a reception, but when I was a kid, we'd just all get in my dad's car and go to the reception. Okay, what do we do now? And so, yes, it's all about this thing, this event at this wedding, comparing it to her experience of Punjabi weddings. And the whole point of this is, we're all the same ultimately. The kind of bitchy aunts asking, when are you getting married? Drunk uncles, the jealous cousin. And so where I think South Asian weddings get a really bad name and South Asian people get, oh, aunties are bitches, actually a lot of other communities have the same characteristics and same characters at their events. And so, yes, that's what it was about. And it did really well. We went on a national tour. I got great reviews, great audience feedback. And it was, I wouldn't bring it back now. It's dated.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
very, very dated now.
Yeah.
I could revive it, but it's dated. So it's kind of had its day. But it's one of the highlights of my life doing that.
That's really interesting,
Mm,
because I guess, like you said, the stereotypes of what you think, people may think that every
mm.
cultural wedding is different, but if you do think about it, the purpose is two people in love getting married. You've got all the
Married with all
families.
this mayhem and families
Yeah.
that have been invited that nobody actually likes, and you're being invited out of duty. And yeah, it was just this bonkers wedding that I went to, and it was a bonkers wedding, and yeah, and it was just, and I just thought, there's a play to be had here, there's something to be had here. So yes.
Fantastic. And sort of following on from that,
Mm.
you're obviously a dramaturg as well. What does being a dramaturg mean to you?
Um, okay. I feel a bit of a fraud sometimes saying the word dramaturg because I'm looking at this through particular eyes, but I'd say more like I'm a developer and shaper. So in the
Mhm.
last couple of years, I was very fortunate enough to get support from the Arts Council under a Develop Your Own Creative Practice grant, and to work with neurodiverse artists, but in particular those that under the dyslexic umbrella, because
Mhm.
I'm dyslexic, or should I say I'm neurodiverse, because the more I look into it, the more I'm looking at different things and I'm going, okay, I think these things apply to me as well.
Mhm.
And so since then, I've been working with artists who can't work in a way that's been very, very pro-ableist.
Yeah.
It's a very one size fits all system. So it's about working with dyslexic artists, it's working with those on the autistic spectrum, but in a way that suits them. And so how I approached it initially was, when I was doing the Dateless Wonder, what would I have wanted? What did I want? What did I need? What kind of feedback would I have wanted? What kind of sympathy, empathy, hand holding? What did I want? What I didn't need, which is what happens with people who are neurodiverse, is I don't need to be told I'm wrong. We get that at school. We've had it all our lives. We don't need to feel that we're not good enough. We don't need to feel that we're stupid, even though no one calls you stupid. But so even the feedback you get has to be done with such care and kindness, and it has to be thoughtful. So
Mhm.
that's how that began. And slowly, and also I do feel that there has to be something called cultural dramaturgy, which when you're dramaturging plays that have been written by people that aren't pretty much white.
Yeah.
because that takes a different form of dramaturgy. You know, we've always had, you know, when Black and South Asian and East Asian and MENA and, you know, artists have sent their work off, they've always had things sent back to them where their work has been rejected because the person reading it, their view of a white, Black person, a South Asian person, South Asian Sikh, South Asian Muslim, Black Muslim, someone who is North African, Middle Eastern, because the character doesn't fit them, the work gets rejected. And so that you now need to bring on very, very different people in places. You need to bring on, when I sent the Dateless Wonder out, I got some horrendous feedback. And if the feedback had been about my writing, fair enough, because that's where I want to be developed. If it was, look, you know, the characters need fleshing out more, or perhaps the structure needs looking at, the beginning, middle, and end isn't clear, you think, okay, brilliant, that's great advice, let me go back and rewrite it. But the feedback I got was things like, I find it hard to believe a South Asian woman would be able to go to a wedding. What wouldn't her parents be trying to marry her off? One of the things was, one of the other feedback I got was, what did she say? Oh yeah, she, again, it was, I find it hard to, I got a lot of, I find it hard to believe your character isn't behaving how I think a South Asian woman should behave or would be in her, or I don't think her life reflects what I think, but I'm white, I have the money, the Arts Council funded me, I'm going to choose what gets portrayed. And she said to me, she goes, but what about arranged marriages? And I was like, but my play isn't about arranged marriages. And she's like, well, don't you think they should be? And it's like, no,
Gosh.
no.
What's the need?
So in other words, when you say, and this woman was white, you know,
Yeah.
and she was the head of a feminist theatre company who gets a lot of traction for doing great work for female playwrights. And I just think, so basically when you do develop South Asian women, you're only developing them as long as their work fits into what you think a South Asian woman is. It's like, that's a really dangerous kind of system to set up. But yet when you let South Asian men and women create their own work, you get the Dateless Wonder, you get Diary of a Hounslow Girl, you get lots of great things, you get labels, you get, you know, I can't think of a lot off the top of my head, but you get some great pieces of work that, you know, you look at and you think, damn, I wish I'd written that.
Yeah, kind of.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's so important that you touched on that, about it's other people's perspectives of what they think you should be. And then what you mentioned about the whole neurodiverse, it's like, other people have no right to comment on your own lived experiences. They haven't lived it like you have. So it's like, how can someone else say that?
When it comes to race, there are people, I think it was recent, yeah, but when it comes to race, sorry, I finished the sentence, there are people in our industry who still think they have the God-given right to do that. So there was recently a writer, and I won't name him because I don't have permission to name him right now, but he went on Twitter and said that one of his pieces of work, one of the feedback was, and I don't know whether it was feedback or his work was rejected, is that the person reading it didn't believe the character because he didn't think Black people ate spaghetti bolognese. It was something as simple. I'm not repeating it correctly. I don't think
something as silly as
it's
making that. Yeah,
and we've had to have that type of feedback for years and years and years, and we sit there and you think, but I want you to pull apart my writing, make me a better writer. But what you're, as a dramaturg, what you're doing is you're pulling apart, or you're trying to fix my character so it fits in your view of what that character should be. And that's why we need to change dramaturgy. So we need to change what dramaturgy is for those that are neurodiverse. We need to change dramaturgy for characters that aren't white or, you know, middle class. We need to change dramaturgy for working class writers and working class characters. We need to change what dramaturgy is for South Asian creatives, Black creatives, East Asian, MENA, everyone, because the one thing we have realized, or I've realized, is a one size system doesn't fit all anymore, and it doesn't, and it never did.
No, and yeah, exactly. And like you said, we need more people of, say, the global majority, more neurodiverse people sort of in dramaturgy in general, given those opportunities, because they're the ones who'll be able to say, no, this is right, this is their story, let them say it how they've lived.
What I want to now do is I want to focus on what's the best way to tell this story. How can we flesh out the scenes so they're the strongest they can be? How can we flesh out the characters? But I'm not going to tell a character what they can and cannot think. I'm not going to tell a writer that their lived experience is why I'm rejecting their work. If I'm going to, well, not that I'm in a position to reject someone's work, but if I'm critiquing it, their character's lived experience isn't why I'm critiquing why their work isn't working. What I'm going to do is the scene isn't working or it's not coming across. And I just think we need more people to kind of go, critique my work, critique my technique, make me a better writer, make me better at the things I'm weak at, whether it's structure or character or prose or fleshing out the narrative. But your critique is the lived experience of my character, in turn, the lived experience of the writer who's writing that. No, those things don't happen.
Exactly, critique the style and the literature, not the actual idea. No, that's really important. And kind of following on from everything you mentioned about what you've done so far, I've got an interesting question. What is the thing that you love most about being in this industry? Obviously, you spoke about what kind of excited you to get into it, but now,
what excites me?
What do you most love?
At the moment, what do I most love? I have a love-hate relationship with my career, as most of us do. And at the moment, I'm going through not hate, but I'm really not sure what this is all about anymore. I come across on a daily basis so many great artists, and I'm doing that to you, so many great creatives. I'm coming across some amazing talent, but yet the wider industry hasn't changed for those people to go forward with their careers, their craft, their ability, their agility, all the things that they could bring to the table. They're still back there. And so right now during lockdown, during my time as an associate artist, I met some great people and they're stagnant. And I'm saddened that are we now going to have another generation of great art, losing another generation of great artists, great writers, the next fabulous people? Are we losing out the person who's going to do the next, South Asian British film? Are we going to, lose the next person who could be writing the next great sitcom? And that saddens me, and that's where I'm at the moment.
Yeah, because you realise obviously there's so many good things about the industry, but then you start to see all the holes and
all the conversations we've been having. So for anyone watching this, we're part of all these different networking groups, or should I say, networking makes it sound like we're all trying to get work off each other. We're all part of these support groups, and these professional support, online support groups. And there are so many great people, but everybody's in the same boat. And it's sad. It's sad to hear that. It's frustrating to hear that. It's frustrating that the struggle is still happening just as hard as it was happening 20 years ago. It's naive to look at TV and go, oh, there's more South Asian actors on TV. Their job done. No more problems anymore. And it's like, no, that's a very naive way of looking at a much deeper problem. It's great that I'm seeing more South Asian faces on TV. It's great, and I want even more. And those actors that are doing them are brilliant actors. They're doing a brilliant job. They are brilliant writers, directors. It's not about that. It's only skimming over the surface of a much deeper problem underneath.
Yeah, and we have gone in a step forwards, but there's still we've mentioned this before, 20
Mm.
years ago we had, goodness gracious me, Bend It Like Beckham.
Fabulous. In a very short space of time, we had lots of things on stage. So we had Do It With Your Fingers, we had all the comedy that was happening at the Watermans. We had East is East. I remember watching East is East, the stage version, then the film version, Bend It Like Beckham, then Goodness Gracious Me. So in a very, very short space of time, in about a 5-year period, there was this pang, and suddenly the industry opened up. But fundamentally, the people who are the gatekeepers with the money and the people who are the commissioners, if they still don't fundamentally believe that we belong, that whole pizzazz didn't mean anything in terms of legacy.
Yeah.
The fact that if we were to name great South Asian films that have made an absolute generational impact, Bendit's still the first that comes to mind, and it's a phenomenal film. But in 20 years, and as South Asians, we are the highest community, non-white community in Britain, and I think we go neck and neck with Eastern European now. But as the second highest, we only still have one kick-ass film that gets brought to the table every time when we're talking about films, but that was 20 years ago. That character will now be in her 40s. She will now be probably a mother of the lead character Jess, of a girl who was Jess's age now. And so where are now the third generation stories?
Yeah. Where are they?
Where are they gone? Where are they going? Anita and Me, there's another one, Anita and Me.
Yeah.
Anita and Me now would probably be in her 50s. She would have children. Where are their stories? So what is the saddest thing is there was the muck, this whole thing, it all came out. There were loads of things at the same time. But the people who controlled things had to believe in us enough to allow more people to write, more people to come through, not more people to do loads of things, and it never happened.
No, I think it started it and it paved the way, but then it went, and
but the work wasn't the issue. It's the people that control things. The work was never the issue. The work is amazing. It's still they still resonate to date. They were timeless pieces. Goodness Gracious Me is timeless. Just like when you now look back on the Two Ronnies, or you look back on other sketch shows, they're timeless. You look back at Bend It Like Beckham, it's timeless. It still resonates today. Anita and Me, it resonates today. These things all still resonate today. But there was so it wasn't the fact that the talent wasn't there. It wasn't the fact that the work wasn't good enough to keep investing in. I have no idea.
Yeah.
The quality was there. The examples of that we can produce quality was done. Why it wasn't moved on, have no idea. But I know it wasn't down to us as a sector. The South Asian arts sector and the talent sector wasn't the issue.
The people with the power who can actually make things happen. And we spoke a little bit about obviously the support groups and everything that we're part of, and South Asian, the arts in general. Obviously, there has been a change, pre-pandemic to now. So my question for you is, what do you think the unity of the South Asian arts community was before the pandemic, and what have you noticed that's happening during that you didn't see before?
Okay, that's a really
so
good
it's quite
question.
a big, because the thing is,
so basically, from the years I have been an actor, and I started around the time that Raj Guttak did, we all started around
that similar time,
around similar time. And there's always been quite a few of us. This whole thing about there was only ever two of us and someone's nunny kind of never existed. There was always a decent level of South Asian talent, whether actors trying to be, writers, people with a good directorial eye. There were always enough to go round. And the unity was always there. I can't it would be naive for me to go, this unity is a South Asian thing or not. If you're the kind of person who walks in and sees another South Asian person and thinks competition, then you are never gonna, then you're always gonna go, oh yeah, we're all jealous of each other, we're not a big group. But if you're someone who walks into a group room and sees another South Asian and doesn't see them as competition, then that's fine. It's the same if you're a woman, if you automatically see other women in your industry as competition, then that's always going to be the case. If you see other women as allies, so when we talk about that unity, it depends on the kind of person you are.
Yeah.
It's got nothing to do with us as a whole conglomerate. I have always had South Asian friends who are artists. Some of my closest friends are South Asian artists. To date, so we've always had a unity. We've always had a deep, deep, deep friendship. However, what I will say is we didn't all know about each other because the opportunities weren't there pre-COVID. So there are many people who I've got to know, you included, that I would never have probably bumped into at an audition because those opportunities are few and far between. We probably never would have regionally probably have been introduced through a mutual friend, because if you're sat in Manchester, I'm not going to come up to Manchester to watch a play. If you live and work in Manchester, or if I live and work in London, chances of us crossing paths are quite rare. In terms of big jobs where you're likely to meet other South Asian artists, they're quite rare. So when we don't know of each other, it's more lack of opportunities than us not being friendly to one another. But yet, if I was to look at all my South Asian friends, associates, colleagues, people I know who are from the arts and TV industry, or who are actors, writers, directors, I know more people through doing my comms work, so whether it's medical role play, corporate role play, than I know through actual working as an actor, writer, dramaturg. And so that is something that an industry needs to take responsibility for. So then COVID happened and suddenly things were brought online and we were all meeting each other because the opportunities were there now. So we could meet each other by Zoom. So someone being sat in Oxford and Glasgow and London and Manchester and
even America and India.
Yeah, we could all be in the same room together and have a chat. Pre-COVID, I didn't know Zoom existed. I didn't know any of this existed. I mean, to be honest, I don't even know how my remote control works on my TV.
No, to be fair, I had never heard of Zoom. I don't think anyone had really heard of this.
I kind of feel like, going to my nephew when I'm there going, so how do you turn the brightness up on the TV? And he just like, Mussy. He still sorts my phone out for me. Because I sit here and I go to him with my phone and I'm like, Baba, can you just sort out Mussy's phone for me?
Oh, this is why I got this.
Yeah, and he just sorts it out and he goes, there you go. And I'm like, thank you, I didn't know any of this existed, but once the opportunity was there, and from day one, when we did our first kind of tea with Tara's Chai and Chat, you did your South Asian meetups and all the work, Priya Fox is doing now, the fantastic work. When we all get together, I'm not seeing any jealousy. I'm not seeing we're not a group, we're not this, we don't know each other. All I'm seeing as soon as we meet each other is like, oh my God, there's more people like me. Oh my God. And you see the excitement and everybody wants to run around and hug each other. And so I think that unity has always been there. It's always that want and that need has always been there. And it's really sad where every time we find new South Asian people, they sit there going, I've been in this industry for God knows how many years and I've always felt alone. I thought it was just me. I thought I was on my own. I didn't realize there was more of us. I didn't realize you were all there. Now, so that means that, so yes, that isn't down to us not wanting to know each other. That's not down to us. That's down to the fact that the lack of opportunity for us being in rooms together through auditions, through working together, through things like this would never, ever, ever have happened pre-COVID. And I don't know what the point to this is because I've lost my train of thought.
No, it's interesting.
But yeah, it's the unity, and now we're starting to work with one another, and it's really, really lovely to see. It's lovely to see. And then when we did our film, I'm Here, it just showed that we're here. We've always been here. There's never been a time where we haven't been here. It's just the opportunity to all be in the same room was never there.
No, that's true.
We created rooms, you, me, Priya. People turn up, people want to know, people want to be there. And I did want to make a point, but I've kind of lost my train of thought. Because suddenly it was such a big question that my
No, I know.
brain
I
went,
thought it's quite.
I want
There's
to
so
answer
many.
this, I want to answer that, I want to answer this, I want to
I
answer that.
know.
Yeah, and I just think it's a case of, and if you are one of these people that enters a room with other South Asians and you immediately go, oh, competition, I want to be standoffish, I don't want to get to know you, then it to me, all I think is you have bought into the one in, one out system.
Yeah.
That was a system not set up by us. There's room for many of us. It means that rather than trying to fight that system, you are supporting it.
Yeah. No, I think that's really important that you mentioned that, because I think there is this whole idea that there is, this competition within our community. And it's interesting you say it goes down to the person. I feel like there are people who, like you said, have bought into the one in, there's only space for one of us, and they believe that. So that's why they're
Yeah, and it's only
in
going to be.
competition.
But for a very long time, Aarti, it was like that. As writers,
Okay.
you would write a script and it could be completely different to a fellow South Asian script. Yours could be a thriller, theirs could be comedy, yours could be they could both be comedy, but about something completely different. And you'd send them into agents and you'd go, oh no, and the agents would often write back and go, oh no, we've already got a South Asian on the
Oh
books.
God.
It's
It's like,
like,
why can't we have more?
yeah, so that one in, one out system has always been there, but it's our job to now battle it. And the conversations we had when we did I'm Here, which is we're all here, there's room for all of us. And there
Yeah.
always has been.
No, for sure. And it's interesting because we've had these in front of a screen, but you kind of
Mm,
feel the energy, and it's a weird one because
mm,
you're not in the room, but collectively you can. And people message saying you can feel the energy in that room, and it's just a
yeah.
powerful thing that when we are together, we are supporting each
Supportive.
other
And we
more.
are. I've rarely come across anyone, rarely, unless that's who they are as a person,
Yeah, that's another kind
who
of issue.
straight away has gone, what do you mean there's other age? What you do?
Yeah.
What you do? I don't think I've come across. Everyone's just gone. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! I didn't realise there were so many of us. I felt alone. It's that whole. I found my tribe.
Yeah. No, for sure. And yeah, people kind of want more
Yeah.
faces than like, right, go
Mm,
away from here. It's like I want to see
yeah.
more of them. And doing, obviously you came up with the idea of the I'm Here. For anyone who doesn't know, I'm Here was basically just a montage video of about
Mm,
30, 40 South Asian artists, just basically saying I'm here. And it was sort of to the industry saying you can't find South Asian
mm.
artists. What was that kind of inspiration behind that? What was the idea? It's such a simple idea, but it's so impactful.
Well, first of all, thank you for saying it was my idea because
It was,
no, but it was one of those things where we came up with it. We all
yeah.
came up with it. And when I got to know you and your group, I was blown away. I was blown away by how amazing you all are. I was blown away by how lovely, how full of ideas, how full of passion, how you want to create work, you want to be out there. If we look at what Yusuf Niazi did with like the South Asian Scratch Night,
Oh, that was incredible.
it was incredible. Forget about finesse. We're all still trying to learn this technology. But if you look at my mum uses the word dumb, which is like your dumb, which is your bavavoo. If you look at the dumb behind all of us when we got together, was brilliant. But pre-COVID, there's no way we would ever had the opportunity to be in a room. No one would have ever given us a room. The piece I did, which was Facts, Faults and Extra Chili Sauce, Sharon out in Essex, me living down in near Crystal Palace, Akib in Manchester, Misha, I've forgotten where she lives, but there's no way we would have ever got together to make such a lovely short, a nice short comedy. It just would never have happened.
Mm.
We would never have had a company give us that time, that space, that ability to do that. And so when I was seeing all these people wanting to work, coming up with ideas, and the moment we got together, things were being achieved, I just thought, we need to, not I, sorry, we need to tell the industry that we're here. And if we're still giving homage, or not homage, we're still giving support to the whole, oh, it's so hard to find South Asian writers, it's so hard to find South Asian actors, it's so hard to find these people, when that is not the case. So that's how the film came about. And what was really lovely was how amazing you all were. You got on board with the concept, you were supportive. And the fact that when we released it, I think it's now got over 10, 11,000 views.
Yeah,
We were trending on Twitter at one
11.
point.
See,
I
I
don't
didn't
know.
know that. I wish I'd
No,
seen
I didn't.
it.
I got 2 texts. One was from Natasha, who was in there, and she was like, "We're trending," and I think someone else just came on and went, "We're trending. I'm here."
How
Hashtag
did we miss that?
trending. I missed it, but we were trending at one point. And you know, and then when we look at the feedback that we got from I'm Here, if there are people who are looking at this and are still mouthing the same narratives from before, it's so hard to find South Asian actors. If you're still doing that, I don't know, just go have a word with yourself.
Yeah,
I
you're
don't
not
know.
looking hard enough.
Yeah, you're
We've
not
got
looking
this
hard enough.
video.
I think COVID, no more excuses. The people that have come out, the people have come out and shown what they're capable of doing. All the brand new writers that were showcased, and they're not brand new writers, they were just undiscovered. So undiscovered talent, people that have been trying to make it as an actor but were never given the audition opportunities. That was just brilliant to do. And it was so lovely because we got some lovely casting directors getting in touch, going, where can we find these people?
Yeah.
We'd love to know more. So I think the industry as a whole is changing, because we got some great feedback from a lot of great casting directors who wanted to kind of go, I'd love to come across these people. Because again, we forget there are some great actors out there. They just have never had the opportunity to get themselves on spotlight, because you've got to have 4 professional credits. So there are many, many, many industry restrictions that are stopping certain actors being found or being employed. And that's what we need to go for, instead of there's not that many good Asian actors, or we're all too busy being bitchy towards each other, or we're not being supportive. Then we miss the actual conversations, which is the whole industry structure. What are the structural changes? What are the structural racisms? What are the structural barriers that we all need to go after? Because if we still keep going on about, oh, we're not supportive of each other, we're missing the point completely.
Yeah. No, exactly. And I think, you mentioning about, you said scratch note as well. I feel like during the pandemic, we've kind of realised that we can't leave it up to the industry to find us the work. Everyone's finding different ways of
Exactly.
making
When you
work.
look at a lot of the work that, if you look at the work that Natasha Chandra's done, she's directed some amazing pieces during lockdown. You look at all like the work that a lot of artists did with South Asian Heritage Month.
Yeah.
The fact is, it's shown exactly what it did 20 years ago with the Watermans, with Tom Allen Centre. If you give South Asian creatives space, if you give them a platform, if you give them the support they need, they will come up with magic.
Yeah.
And what lockdown has shown is, if they get the time, the space, they will come up with magic. So 2-3 years time, if you've got the same ilk of people, the same ilk of gatekeepers saying the same thing, then I don't know what, but it means that we're not shouting loud enough.
No, exactly. If you give us that power, then we'll show how
we can do,
power we actually have. Definitely. Oh my God, I realised it's almost at the end. I feel like it's
so sorry.
nice.
I feel like I talk loads.
No, but the thing is, I feel like you've actually covered most of the questions in our discussion. Like the final, we're going to move on to some just fun fire round questions. The final one, which would be quite good to end on, is for anyone who doesn't know why it's important that we as South Asians, but generally as creatives, champion each other. Why do you think it's important that we do champion each other's success and realise that one person succeeding doesn't mean that we're not succeeding? What's the importance for you?
The importance is, if you look, the importance is that we have to champion each other, because if we don't, who will? And if we don't keep telling the industry that we're here, there's many of us, look, We're coming as a force, not just me. There's this great actress, there's this great actress, there's this great actor. We have to challenge each other, because if we don't, then the system will never change. And it suits a lot of people to keep the one in, one out system going. It keeps their position, but it keeps us arguing amongst ourselves. And that's the reason we have to stop. And when we all come together and we look at the South Asian Scratch Night, I'm here, we look at all the work you have created. We look at all the lovely work that others, I can't, name people at the top of my head.
Because there's so much now that we've done.
Yeah, it's so much done. You look at things like, we are stronger as a collective than we are individually. We are a bigger voice. We are a bigger force.
And it's because we have those similar experiences and ideas that we can share. We're like, oh my God, I've had that happen to me. And then it kind of just creates even more work.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're stronger together.
We're stronger together.
Yeah, that's
if
good.
You and me hadn't got together, I'm Here would never have happened, because it wouldn't have happened by myself.
No, and I wouldn't have had the idea to do it.
And the most shocking thing is, you and I would never have met if it hasn't for lockdown. We were in two completely different, we were in two different parts of London. It was unlikely we would ever audition for the same part. And the thing is, you and I were the same agency, acting agency.
That's how I was looking through and I was looking for South Asian.
And the thing is, and yet we would never have the chances of us coming across each other's path. Not just coming across each other's path, but more than just say, I'm playing your mother or your older sister for a quick commercial. And so it's like, hi, bye, 5 minutes. We would never have got to know each other on this level had it not been for lockdown, had it not been for technology. And so now there's no excuses. There's just no excuses industry-wide why different people are being kept out of the industry. There's just no excuse anymore.
No, and that's so, like, I always think, if it hadn't been for the pandemic, like, would all of this have happened? And I'd say no.
We would never have met. And if we had, it would have been fleeting 5 minutes in an audition. But my focus would have been to say hello to you, would have been to say hello politely. But it's the script. What am I doing? What's the casting director wanting us to do on screen? And had we got the job, then we possibly would have got to know each other a bit better. But on a scale of 1 to 10, that's a 1-2, where the way I've got to know so many people because of lockdown has been different.
And it's made us want to keep those connections that we've made friends virtually. Would we have ever done that pre-pandemic, be like meeting a stranger and becoming friends with them over the internet? I don't.
Yeah, and I've made some great friends, and now people who, they're not colleagues, they are not sort of colleague friends, they're not like my cohort. There are people who I now, yourself included, I now regard as my friends. In fact, we phone each other up just for a quick chit chat to touch base to see how we're getting on. We don't even call each other for work. It's the same with Sanjay Lago, who's up in Glasgow. I would never have met him. Renu Aurora, who, again, I would never. And we're of similar age, and we've been in the industry similar time. We were, auditioning as actors at the same time for over 20 years. We'd never come across each other ever. Ever. And it's like, so when I'm not coming across people that I should, how am I going to come across other people?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just obviously, as awful as the pandemic was, I'm just thankful that it's created all of this magic, and it will continue.
There's magic out there. There's great work. There's great ideas. There's great South Asian talent. I am the biggest advocate of, South Asians in the industry, not just South Asians, because I'm coming from a South Asian point of view. I'm talking Afro-Caribbean, MENA, East Asian. There's magic out there. There's magic actors. There's magic writers. There's magic ideas out there. There's so much happening out there. And if we don't, old-fashioned as it is, storm the citadel and take down the powers that be, we will be having these same conversations in another decade with another new generation of people coming in. You will be sat where I am saying, I've been in the industry 10, 20 years, having the same discussion with a newbie coming in.
Yeah, it would kind of just go on and on.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry to sort of cut that off. I'm just.
No, do you know what? I totally understand. Yeah.
No. We're just going to go on to. I've just got some quick fire on, but I think that was a really good thing to end on. That we need to just keep this going, so we're not having those conversations in 20, 30 years. Okay, these are just completely random. The first one. Sorry, this might be a bit hard. If you could be in any film, what would it be?
If I could be in any film, what would it be? I'd love to be in a Shah Rukh Khan film. No, no, I'd love to be in either Shah Rukh Khan, a Hrithik Roshan, or an Amir Khan film. I would love to be in a really good old school masala movie. I would love to. I'd love to be in a Shah Rukh Khan movie,
Can you
or
think
I'd
of
love to be in a nice
any?
art house Amir Khan movie when he does his kind of really thoughtful films. I would love
Yeah.
to be in
Can
that.
you think of any like specific ones at the top of your head, or just a general one with?
Just in general,
There's so
I don't
many now.
know. Let me see. Amir Khan. I know I've always wanted to work with Amir Khan. I think he's such a great filmmaker. He's such a great visionary. I loved when he did Tare Zameen Par, something like that. When
Mm.
he's doing his work, that's really not just about a film, but also really holding a lens to Indian society, Indian middle class society. It's really brilliant the work he does. So yeah.
He's incredibly versatile as well. I think he's one of the most
I'd like to
versatile.
work with Amir Khan because I think he has an absolute magnificent brain. Hrithik Roshan, because I just fancy him. And I want to run around after him, chasing him, with the Benny Hill theme tune on the background. And Shah Rukh Khan, because I just think he's a phenomenal artistic force. That, he is one of the most well-known people on the planet. So they would be my three films, but what film, I don't know.
Fantastic. Okay, moving away from a film. This is completely random. Sunrise or sunset to watch?
Sunset.
Sunset. Cool.
Mm.
Okay, would you rather visit every single country in the world or be able to explore the whole of space?
Every single country in the world.
Cool. I think I'd go with that one.
Yeah.
Okay, number 4, pineapple on pizza, yay or nay?
No, no. What's wrong? No, no, no. Mirch, green chili. That is the best topping on a pizza. Not jalapeno business. None of this kind of chili flakes. A good old-fashioned mirch that your mum puts in curry. That is what you have on a pizza.
My favourite is just margarita. Sometimes maybe with mushrooms, but I like less topping. But no, pineapples I can't. No. So
No.
fruit.
In a drink at sunset, fine.
Yeah,
In a pina colada at sunset, but not on a pizza.
exactly. Okay, final one.
Mm.
If you could say one thing to younger Anjali right now, what would that be? It's the first thing that comes to your mind.
Funny thing, I was going to think something career-wise, but personal-wise is I would warn her that she wouldn't have had her dad for as long as for such a short time.
Yeah.
So do more with him. Sorry, that's just that's the first thing I would have said. Because I lost him when I was 27.
Okay.
So, and I thought, first thing I was thinking, let me think career-wise. It's like, no, I would go back and just say, he's not going to stay forever. So do more with him.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's the first thing I would say.
Amazing. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. I could talk for another hour.
I know. I was going to say that we talk so much, but I feel like there's so many new things that are like, and there's just so much on this topic we can talk about. I wish we had like 3
There's
hours
so
to
much,
do this.
and you know what? It's not just, because I think everyone knows I'm quite not opinionated, but I have very strong opinions about what I think.
But
But
you've
I
got really
think
good thoughts about so many
what,
topics.
what I do think is there's many people like me who also have a lot to contribute to this conversation, and I know you're having them coming up in the industry and your talks, and I think there's some interesting conversations, not just with one person, but all of us as a group to be had. Yes. And well done you for having them, and thank you.
Thank you. No, thank you for coming here and taking up your time and sharing all of your thoughts. I hope you've enjoyed.
I love your group.
speaking.
I love you. I love your group. I
Thank
think
you.
you're all smashing, and I just wish we had the opportunity of my generation, because we didn't have technology. We didn't have what we have now. I wonder what we would have achieved if we had the ability to just all be in the same room together on a regular basis.
That's so interesting to see if that was there like years ago, what we would be like now. But I mean, it's
Yeah.
happening, and
It's,
we will
you
get
know, and
there.
I'm excited. I'm excited ever I hear you all speak, and I'm excited about the passion and the tenacity and your ambition. And you know, when we were actors starting off, if you were lucky, you might get an episode in one of the kind of medical dramas about a girl who's ended up in hospital because she was running away from arranged marriage. You know, and now I'm looking at young actresses, and they're looking at America and Netflix and Bridgerton, and I look, and you know, when you go, mwah,
Yeah.
you know, I feel sadness for myself, but not bitterness that you guys are having these opportunities. You sit there and you go, good,
Yeah.
good. I wish it happened for
It's
us.
happening.
We're
Yeah.
a completely different generation, but good.
Definitely. Okay, it's almost about to reach the Instagram limit, but again, massive thank
You
you,
go.
Anjali, and yeah, take
You
care, and
take
see
care.
everyone in the next chat.
See
Bye.
everyone. Bye bye.